as we finish up our day, let us chit-chat for a little bit more on what a feminine can tell you about those masculines. So for one, they don't seem to fight for love or life. They don't fight for life or love. Yes, that's because that shame business. Okay, so as long as they don't have their feminine on board, and so that inner child adult, they're not choosing loving partners, they're not choosing anything that involves forgiveness. Once they have the download on their own childhood, they've reparented, right? Okay, so that's where the feminine of the 5D Mystic Enlightenment Soul Age Group Collective can inform you and share with you personal experiences. Is even without the attachment and trauma information, I actively was aware of blessed are those who believe without seeing, so meaning a masculine still person and they have a heart. And so the Cusco attitude of a shame cycle is not something that will leave you too disappointed. It will leave you in a place of knowing that it happens. So as you get older, I'm 44, you get to know that the ones who fight for life and for love, they bring harmony, they bring more feminine, and the feminine masculine, they harmonize. And so you heard at least one of our episodes on feminine, masculine, 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful peeps harmonizing with the ascension energies and love. And so that's really fun once we begin to meet masculines that actively have the inner child of their own self, because now they're a protector and they're a nurturer. So we get to be nurturer and protectors. We bring to each other that which is complementary. And so the other thing that I noticed about masculines is when they're choosing to flee and not fight, and so they don't choose love, but they choose fear. They choose shame and they make up an excuse for it that is going to allow them, but see, it's not an excuse. That's the other part. So when you understand that, let me equate it to you this way. Masculines in general, the way I'm going to be using it and the way that you'll notice it take place, are people who have the limiting beliefs and the conditioning from their own 0-1 attached panicky, 3-7 shame submissive, and attachment trauma informed. So they're not mindfully aware. If they were mindfully aware, then they would get the attitude and move it into a functional adult. So the functional adult love language is where I share with you all of what I'm thinking, feeling, all of it. And I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I don't do the hurt people. I don't use stereotypes. I don't use any of that to actively share me with you and stories. And okay, also, I don't create a story for the feelings that I'm feeling. I don't create an embellishment of it. I just say I'm in one of those days. I don't make it bigger. I don't make it smaller. This is why people call secure attachment boring, the ones who don't have their ability yet. They can, but they don't yet, to self-regulate in a state of calm. This is again why the masculine runs away from love. They don't choose love. They actively say, love doesn't last forever. It actually doesn't at all. It's not even real. That's not actually true. Here's what a feminine can tell you about love. We are the ones who remain young at heart. Let me go find that lovely song. I think I read it to you, but I don't remember. So a feminine, a person who's an inner child adult, so that means you have healthy self-worth. It means you understand that relationships can come and go, and that twin flames, or soulmates, you will figure it out. They are people. And so while I know that, again, anyone who wants a mantle, they go on a journey, those are not the ones who know about blessed are those who believe without seeing, with the Holy Spirit, with spirituality that takes all of those religions and brings it all underneath. So all of those of us who are faith, we hang out all together for the 5D collective. The ones who continue to use Luciferian and they don't actively like that sciences and spirituality come together. They're left-brainers is what I call them, because their left is what's organizing it, because the right is where it can sit with desperate ideas, sit with the unknown, uncertainty, unexpected, and be open-hearted. Okay, so feminines know about fairy tales, can come true, it can happen to you if you're young at heart. Also, it's hard to be narrow-minded, because we're open-minded. We love intellectually and emotionally stimulating conversations. Also, we can go to extremes with impossible schemes. So yes, we believe in the impossible. And we do laugh when our dreams fall apart at the seams, because actually you're not laughing in a way of like, oh my God, I'm so angry. You can get a little bit angry too. You have all the range of emotions. And then because you're feminine and you have faith, meaning you know that life or God, Akash, consciousness, will never, ever, ever give you more than what you can handle. Also, never, ever will it hurt you. So again, the feminine knows life doesn't betray life. The feminine knows life doesn't auto-destruct. The feminine knows the breath of life. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. The feminine knows that love and life always win, because life doesn't actively auto-destruct. There's a balance of energies that is maintained. And when we're recalibrating that balance, there's a moment of destabilization. So it goes a little wonky. It's that little scale. So the feminine knows it'll be back to its normal scale again. And we get to do another run around, but we do dharma. The masculines, they don't. They do karma. So we eventually learn to leave the masculines because they don't fight for love. They fight for shame. They don't fight for love. They fight for blame. They don't fight for love. They fight for faulting. They don't fight for love. They fight for revenging. They don't fight for love. They fight for separation. And they actively don't know that fighting, nobody wants to fight, because we're mammals and we are a family on a globe. So they fight for something that they don't even know what they're looking for, because they lost that something sacred. They're a non-bilaterally integrated brain who's using their survival brain mode, and who follow people who tell them lies about yoga, that it brings demons out of you. They tell them lies about Reiki because they don't like that Reiki exists, because it didn't follow whatever scheme of qualitative data analysis that they did. They use their mouths very well to try and just use Lucifer anywhere it is about dressing, composure, whatever. Tarot, I remember learning about tarot and devil, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. That just doesn't sound right to my ears. My ears know bullshit when it's being talked to me, because I was raised with healthy self-worth. So I'm not a person who doesn't know how to hear you. Also, I have a smart human being called Mother, who made me very well aware of how authoritarian figures can wield their words. And that's all people. So I was instructed and informed, educate yourself, empower yourself, keep learning. Remember that there are people that will hold positions and they will want to try and pull wool over your eyes. Make sure to, so she kept me understanding, not saying don't trust that, no, it was remember to keep learning. You laugh at the dreams falling apart because, again, for me, I was raised with God, so I already know that God doesn't actively do anything in a way that would be bad. It's always going to be something to bring more, and that if I am presented with evil, I'm meant to face it head on with love. Jesus stood as love, not as fighting with his fists, not at all. So also, the people who want to keep living the ancient times, I don't think they know we're in the year 2024. I really think that they've lost time. That's why you can make up sentences like yoga brings demons out of you without noticing what's coming out of your mouth. Just saying. So, I know that I'm gullible for things, but there's some things that I would go to, hey, my data checkers, I have my data fact checkers. Could you let me know if this data is right or wrong? Because I don't know who it's from. I'm trying to figure out the source. You're trusted. Can you let me know? Okay, so again, life gets more exciting with each passing day, and love is either in your heart or on its way. Fairy tales can come true, and it'll happen to you. So don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart, and for as rich as you are, it's much better by far. And so we keep moving forward in this journey, the feminine, okay? So we don't crap on people for being flawed and imperfect, because we're flawed and imperfect too. Do you get the gist? Okay, cool. And so if we can survive to 105, we'll be definitely happy about being alive. And that head start is called I Got Lucky with my feminine. She's right here. So I keep learning about my feminine, my body, whenever stuff comes up. But about my masculine, it's my mind. And then I say divine, and masculine, feminine. And you all know about it. But back to our masculine. So again, they don't fight for love. They flee away from it. They will not necessarily even look at how they are treating another person, because imagine someone actively doubting a kind person more because they are like, you don't exist. So it happens. Masculines, they throw away the feminine. They throw away the feminine because I'm a feminine. They actively will do it. But they will actively be unaware of it because they throw away their own feminine. Because they actively don't take their embodied body and bring their self up. And they don't get out of their 16-year-old. And they actively, consistently use, like movies, Hangover, Mean Girls, anyone? Yeah, so you can just put it there. And once you learn about Patrick Chan, you learn about how people who have trauma, they get to keep dating strombolies, martyr superiors, blamers. So they keep on dating people who treat them like shit. Oh, and a feminine will notice it, by the way. So we'll notice that there are things from those belief systems and that conditioning from your family. They raised you, right? So you got your first 8 years of life and you don't notice it. The masculines, again, they don't notice their self because they don't notice that they can get inner well-being. And their first choice point is when they get their peers. But, peers adolescent. I was an adolescent. I learned from my 12 to 14 by disregarding my own feminine. And then I said, okay, with equanimity, now that you've learned not to be stupid, let's move and chuck it along because we got things to do. Okay, so we're going to choose love, Jesus, God, and chuck, 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 chuck. And so feminine doesn't lose her way, at least this one. And so then I got to be a grown-up, right? And to move along. And when I got my twin flames, this is where there's a beautiful harmony that happens with twin flames. And it's not because there's not misunderstandings, there are. But we don't call sadness tragedy, okay? And also because this feminine owns this masculine, my mind is mine. So I wield my active thoughts and emotions, knowing how to put my prefrontal cortex down, you see? It's called secure attachment, healthy self-worth. Woman knows that a human being can be a twin flame or not. Actively also, I'm a feminine who has clairs, you see? So my relationship is active. And this is what always will have me laughing a lot, because the ones who are coaches for the twin flame and flames, they exaggerate, and that's what they did, is they exaggerated the pain points. And here's what I shared with my feminines, as I have a bunch of feminines, and masculines, by the way. There are masculines with clairs, FYI. So the feminines with clairs who don't have the unconditional love, you can put them with the masculines too, but let me just leave that and pause for a minute. So the people, I'll just use it, the people, and they're all women that have had twin flames. In the years that I've had mine, so some of them actively, before they got their twin flames, thought I had trauma. I didn't know what love was, that I was, again, traumatized from my teenage boyfriend, because, there's a whole bunch of stories there, and they don't know that polyamory is a choice, not an obligation. Also, that those of us who have our own emotional plane in the forefront, we know if it's traumatic. There's nothing traumatic. I have a relationship with the depths of my emotional sphere, okay? So that's when you own the sense of self, which is why I'm a feminine, because I'm Maria, and my 3-year-old is here and a 1-year-old, so I know how to regulate, okay? So this is mindful living in love. This is my lovely, again, spiritual process. You use your prefrontal, otherwise you're not there with integration. I'm trying to explain to you all why this is it, with the education information that I have and that you can put into practice by allowing yourself to watch Tara Brach's video on meditating, or I forget, getting out of the limbic system, and then just keeping on putting into practice, even with the inner growth mindset. So you don't have to sit and meditate, you just have to contemplate and feel, and just allow yourself to know, I got feelings coming up, okay, I got thoughts, I can bring them to neutrality. I don't like this thing, I'm upset. And so with Twin Flame 1, I remember there was a buttload of beautiful stuff, and then there was a buttload of interesting stuff. And so I had my equations, and my equations were 1, 2. So the first choice is like, okay, we need to figure out what do we want to do. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. The second, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it this way because I really don't want to disengage from it. Okay, third, okay, fourth. So I'm talking to you all in not times. These are basically very challenging choice points, which the 4D likes to tell you is tragedy. It's not tragedy. Actively, Maria's contemplating, Maria's feeling. Oh, and feminine knows I am. Once I became an Akashic record reader, I found out about us mastering our mental, emotion, physical plane. So I'm like, aha, now I have gotten it, my lovely twin flame one. You are giving me the opportunity. And he did, and so did the other twin flames, to continue finishing up my mastery of me, not them. So it's personal. No, it's not. It's actively, my oversoul helps me to expand. The feminine knows this, so does the masculine. This is why there's no battle. You see? Not fighting, I'm loving, and I'm loving to tango more, which is why I'm young at heart, and my whole 3-year-old heart is here. So the feminine doesn't lose herself, and we don't need a coach, and we don't go through stages. We actively go through what are called choice points. And so with twin flames, there are choice points. Masculine gets choice point. They can choose love. They can choose their feminine again, but this is why, as I say, the ones of us with clairs, we are the ones who know of our oversoul. So I knew about soulmates, and in fact I know about my soulmates, and I know about my twin flames. And here's a little fun fact: none of those people know what they are, because I don't go to people that have human names and say, hey, guess what you are. There's only one human being who knows what he is in my future. That's because that was fun to share, and I love that I was able to share that and be taken seriously, because there are people who have actively masculines, they're not very kind when it comes to those of us who are mystics. Yes. So, again, they don't fight for their feminine because they don't fight for their self. They don't choose to bring their whole inner child in the forefront, and they choose to say that love doesn't last, that it doesn't exist, that there isn't forever love, no fairy tales, stuff like that. So you learn how to watch from afar and to leave them alone as they choose to go and do those limiting beliefs, the conditioning, and date strombolies. So they continue with the shame, blame, fault, and revenge stuff with other human beings who are in the same boat and who don't choose to love their self first. You see, that's why, again, with or without clairs, if you're not ready to forgive your home and trauma stuff, you probably want to go and take a look at Patrick Tian first. Once you realize healthy self-worth, you're going to have a really good time as a feminine with all of those people who cross your path, and you will look back and you say, wow, I'm so lucky, and and that's how you feel, because you are aware of being a choice point for a person. So again, we don't actively I'm going to give it to you this way. You have so many moments as you're walking through a relationship, right? Okay. And so a feminine is somebody who's intuitive because we're tapped into the energetic sphere. So you and I share a relational field. And then I'm a person who is, again, a guide, a counselor, all words, whatever you want to use, content creator. But as a channeler, I actively am tapped into a collective, the 5D, and supporting them on their growth. So my oversoul is included. So I will pick up on those who are expanding, those who are going through stuff. And I will have the opportunity to have what are going to be interactions with my loved ones. They're all loved ones. So my masculines, they all will know what I'm thinking and feeling. That they don't know if they're twin flames or soulmates, it's unimportant. And that thing is, masculines, they don't choose to fight for the feminine. They don't choose to be their inner child adult, you see? They don't choose their inner well-being. They don't choose to experience the depths of their self until they are open to experiencing their open heart, until they are ready to no longer flee from love and to figure it out. You see? Okay, so it's a sad story, the masculine. It's a very sad story for the feminine. So we don't actively feel bad or sad in the sense of, oh my God, I went through tragedy. That would be very disrespectful to any human being who is doing the best they can, which is why those who talk about, again, a journey in a way of making it exaggerated, where there is pain points, is the person and people who don't know how to wield their brain. So they have a story for themselves. Great for them. I have facts, meaning that one person can tell you all about my lovely twin flames. No tragedy. Emotions, oh sure. Choice points, yes, again. The choice point is this. I am a person and you're a person, and I'm going to be able to have what is called a face-to-face conversation, because that's actively what it is to be in any type of relationship. You don't need the label, you see? Okay, so the ones who dehumanize their masculine, feminine story, they're living a story. They're not living consciously. I'm a mindful, conscious person. I share a beautiful experience with you. And I am looking to understand where we stand. Okay? So, I will want to try and make sure that you are sure about the decision you are making and that you do not want this. Okay? And that's actually all that happens. And because we want their happiness, we're very much aware they will make choices. So whatever we're picking up in the energy sphere, we will learn how to leave it alone, because they're actively living the life that they want to live, which is in the absence of the feminine. And again, they're not into any of this stuff anyway. So we'll be back with more of these topics. In the meantime, I want to give you a little bit more on what a feminine can tell you about masculines, and the ones who do choose their feminine. It's really great to have them here, because I love that. I love when their inner child adult is there, because now we got a whole masculine with a whole feminine. We got a feminine with a whole masculine. That's where magic happens. So we'll be back with more. Have a good one.